In previous session, we discussed on topics which will be covered as part of this course. In this session, we will look in detail at why BRIM is needed. What are the business drivers for a need for subscription specific software? What are the major companies, products or services in the world which we are using in our day-to-day lives? Airtel, Vodafone, Verizon, AT&T, etc. telecom companies for calls, texts, internet browsing. Basically, after breathing the second most important thing. Netflix, Disney, Hotstar, etc. OTT companies, which have become a major source of our entertainment, even challenging cinema halls and theaters. Electric vehicles like Tesla, BYD, which is based out of China, Ola, which has shifted its focus from ride sharing to becoming world's biggest two-wheeler EV company. Ather, another India-based two-wheeler EV company, etc. Then we have Spotify, Apple Music, Audible, etc. music and podcast streaming companies. Then we have Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Times of India, Daily Mail, etc. newspaper companies. Even the companies which we use in our daily life but we don't think much about. Utility companies. Companies which supply water to our homes or companies which supply electricity to our homes. These could be government entities or private companies. For example, NTPC in India and Nextera Energy in USA. What is common in all these companies? They follow something called as flexible consumption business model. Flexible consumption business model basically means that the customer will pay for the access of the product and not necessarily own the product. It can be subscription based like Netflix, Spotify, Times of India, etc. which we can see at the top left, or it can be pay per use like EV charging stations at public or water and electricity um, related companies, which we can see at the top right. Or it can be mixed of both subscription and pay per use, like telecom companies, which can provide free calls and text up to a certain limit over a predefined period, and then starts charging on additional consumption within that period. This model provides customers flexibility in how they consume and pay on their needs and usage. In essence, flexible consumption transforms a company's existing product or services by packaging them into different layers of use and selling these packages to the end consumer. Then, depending on the amount of service consumption, customers are billed accordingly. The switch to this new business model is the main driving force behind companies seeking out a new billing solution that can support complex billing processes. Let's take a look on some examples. As we can see from the graph that Apple is changing its business strategy from focusing on products to focusing on Apple services. If we look at this chart in this slide from 2012 to 2022, we can see that the percentage share of revenue and how Apple services revenue share as a percentage of overall revenue of Apple has increased to become the second most revenue making segment in 10 years, surpassing iPad, Mac, and even wearables. As per the revenue report of Apple and industry sources, in comparison to iPhone, iPad, and Mac, Apple services revenue has increased year on year. Some analysts see it as the most important segment of the company, potentially reaching 50 billion in profit by 2025. Similarly, Ola, which started its business as the ride-sharing company like Uber, is also shifted its focus towards EV industry. In fact, they are claiming to set up world's largest manufacturing hub in India, for which they are investing 7600 crores in Tamil Nadu, which would be roughly $923 million. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, recently announced that they are rolling out new paid verification subscription service for Instagram and Facebook users. Also, we know that since the past few years how Disney is aggressive about its streaming platform, and with the acquisition of Marvel, how much they are focusing on entertainment industry. In fact, in 2020, Disney announced that it will be doing major restructuring within their organization as streaming becomes their most important facet for the company's business. Here is the tweet by CNBC. Now, since we are talking about Twitter, as we know that Twitter, after acquisition by Elon Musk, has changed its strategy from only ad-based revenue model to subscription-based, with Twitter Blue now being sold as monthly subscription. Even Netflix originally used to sell DVDs by mail, but then in 2007 they switched to streaming media. Amazon AWS, which has become the backbone of all the major startups in the world with its data centers, thus eliminating the need for companies to have their own servers. They can simply rent out from Amazon AWS and Amazon will take care of scaling up, down, and during peak hours, backups, etc. Microsoft has shifted its focus from operating system to Azure and are focusing on Office 365, with which now based on subscription, where entire suite of Office apps will be available, and even releasing Windows OS as a service, using which we don't need to install Windows OS on the system. Using a remote connection, we can connect to OS on the fly from any laptop. Companies like Adobe, which used to sell their software as perpetual license, have shifted focus towards subscription-based model. Even in the field of gaming, with Xbox Pass, and now instead of owning each game, we can play a bunch of games for a subscribed period without needing to own them. So now we can play over 100 high quality games with friends on console, PC, phones, and tablets for one low monthly price. With games added all the time, there is always something new to play. And with 5G coming, how much cloud gaming business is going to boom, we all know. In fact, not only gaming, but every business will get disrupted with IoT, virtual reality, self driving, etc. We can just imagine the amount of data which would be consumed on a daily basis.